Chairman Buckley, welcome to the program here. Do you think any of the rural Republicans who opposed vouchers in the past might end up changing their votes here in the special session?
You know, I've had numerous conversations with members from across the state, and members are extremely thoughtful about this process. They take educating Texas children very seriously, and I think it really depends on the legislation that is brought to the floor, and if it solves some of the problems that many of us believe that we have and some of the issues we need to tackle in schools. And I believe that will eventually be what moves members one way or the other.
Is there a possibility for a compromise? Is there something, a carrot that the governor could dangle, or some, policy thing out there that could get passed?
Oh, absolutely. I know that teacher pay and school safety and increasing the basic allotment for our public schools and including accountability reform are really on the hearts and minds of members across the House. And those are really important issues in delivering high quality education to Texas school children. And so those types of issues, I think, have the power to move some members.
But as far as school vouchers go, is there a compromise that could be reached with the governor?
You know, I believe that every parent has a God-given right to play a powerful role in their child's education, and I believe that members of the Texas House believe that as well. And what the final legislative process and the legislative outcome looks like really is up to the members of the Texas House. We will bring forth a framework. We continue to talk to members and work on this with the understanding, and every member understands the importance and the power that parents have in making decisions on behalf of their children. And that is twofold. That is to make certain that parents, have those options, but to also understand that we have to have strong public schools as well. And I believe that's where our answer lies.
A couple of dozen rural Republicans have defeated school vouchers session after session, year after year, which I know you've seen. Do you expect anything to be different this special session?
Well, I don't know. I speak with many of those members. Many of them are friends of mine. I guess, sort of a quasi-rural Republican as well. And I'm a son and grandson of public school teachers. My wife's been a public school educator for 30 years. I'm a former school board member. We share a lot of the same values. And so, we talk a lot about things that are important, in their districts. I think what we have to remember about the Texas House is members represent their districts, and all members understand just how important it is that all kids receive a quality education and that parents are a part of that. And so I think there's broad agreement there. And again, I like anything in the Texas House, it will depend on the details, and look forward to working on those details with my colleagues.
What does your gut tell you on this?
My gut tells me that we can get there.
You think so?
I do.
And what would have to happen to get there? What are some of the things that would need to be in a bill from your committee and into the House floor?
I think it has to be a bill that recognizes that parents are the center of their child's life, and it's their God-given right to be able to provide the best for their children. But it's also important that we tackle the issues of teacher pay to keep the best teachers in front of kids in Texas schools, that we increase the funding for school safety to keep our kids safe, that we increase the basic allotment so that our school districts can combat the high inflation environment that we live in now, and also that we deal with the accountability system so that parents of students are better informed and have I would say, a more practical and holistic look at how their kids are doing in school. Are they progressing? Are they meeting the standards? And if they're not meeting the standards, what do we do about it to close the gaps?
Have you had conversations with the speaker on this? I mean, it sounds like you've talked to quite a few members, some of your colleagues, but have you talked to the speaker about this and shared some of what you think is going to happen?
I've talked to members for months. And over the last few weeks, as the speaker appointed a select committee of us, and we held 2 days of hearings. We had a report that came out August the 11th that highlighted the issues before the committee and recommendations, that members brought to the table. It was very collaborative. We had all but one member sign the document. And so, the speaker has asked me to basically guide this, guide this process. I'm a firm believer that we can get to a solution on this, that we can make certain that parents have the rights that they need to make sure their kids are educated. And we can also solve many of the problems that our schools are facing now, typically due to an accountability system that's cumbersome and doesn't inform parents well, and also some fiscal constraints with inflation, and then getting teacher pay right so we can recruit teachers. We have too many districts with too many teacher vacancies, and we've got to do better on that. And I think all of those issues are important in solving in the Texas House to get something across the finish line.
And what do you think changed, Mr. Chairman, in the past few months?
I'm not certain. I think I think as time goes on, you go home. I talk to I have 194,000 constituents, and I have a snapshot of Texas district. I've got a school district with 380 kids, and I have a school district with 44,000. I spend a lot of time with educators because my wife's an educator. Many of our friends are educators, and I hear about their struggles. But I spend a lot of time with parents, and parents are concerned. We know that if we're going to educate kids where we can compete as a state and a country, that we have to have all tools in the toolbox for kids. And I think that's what parents want. They want strong support of their public schools, but they also want all the tools available that we can hand them to make sure that their kids receive what they need. And so that's really, I think, what members are hearing. They're hearing from folks back home. I don't think that statewide noise, if you will, or politics of it plays a bigger role, as big of a role as it does members being back home. And as a state representative, you see your constituents in the grocery store. You see them, in the restaurants, and they're not shy about telling you what's on their mind.
And do you think the public sentiment has changed in the past few months on this? Tell lawmakers what they'd like to see happen.
I don't know about public sentiment. I think public sentiment, for me, it kind of has remained the same. I think there's just been time, in a regular session, there are 300 issues coming at you at one time, and even the public is not as engaged simply because of all the who has the bandwidth to absorb all that. They're worried about the border. They're worried about education. They're worried about property taxes. They're worried about the healthcare. They're worried about so many issues. But I think over time, when we sort of can distill it down to kind of one group of issues, and that's educating our kids, I think it gives our constituents the space to talk about it, and it really gives parents the opportunity to talk to members. And what I know in my district, the parents are very certain, and that they want to make sure that their kids have access to great public schools, but they also have every tool in the toolbox. Yeah. Because with kids now, what I always say is you get one shot at it. Kids, as they grow, if they fall further behind, if there are issues at school, a kid that's behind, it can be challenging to catch them up. And so we have to provide every toolbox we can, and just honor that right of parents to really have a say in their kids' education.
And just for clarity, at the end of this 30-day session, you think there's a high likelihood that some form of vouchers might pass?
I think I don't have a crystal ball on that. I think there are many folks at the table talking about all the issues we've talked about, everything from school choice, parental empowerment, teacher pay, school safety, increase the basic allotment, accountability reform. And I think it really is an opportunity to solve some big issues. And I think at the end of the day, I consider myself to be problem solver. That's why I ran for this office. That's why I'm honored to chair both committees that deal with education issues, and I intend to try to help guide the plane to solve these problems and to make certain that we get this across the finish line.
Mr. Chairman, we will be watching. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed being with you.